Welcome back to another, it's a Thursday night edition, but another weekly edition of Fourth and Go, your source for Philly 4 for 4, plus so much more. I'm Dave Gleckner. That's Mark Tomasini. We're ready to get into it tonight. NFL, pseudo free agency starting. We'll talk Sixers, we'll talk Phillies, and get into all things going on in the Philadelphia sports world. Once again, I'm Dave, and this is Mark. What's up, buddy?
What up? What up? Yeah, we're back at it again. Pretty good week for the Sixers. So if it were a Wednesday, we'd probably say a winning Wednesday. Not so much for the Flyers, but that's cool. Things are all good on the side, I mean, it's weird. The Sixers are surging again, and I'll definitely get into that later after my rant last week. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
a lot of exciting stuff going on right now.
Yeah, Sixers 4-1 on that road trip, and we will definitely talk a little bit more about them as we dig deep into what is going to be just a great show. And with a great show, you always got to crack a good beer. And let's get right into it. NFL, it's a year-long sport anymore, right? And we've known that for the past couple of years, but they take a couple of weeks off, and they're right back into the swing of things. And free agency, what do we call this? The dormant period? It's got a term.
Yeah, tampering
period. Yeah, legal.
Technically, tampering starts Monday, and then I think the league year starts on Wednesday.
Yep.
But yeah, this is were you saying the past couple of weeks that saying that's a dormant period, or?
Well, I'm just saying you already heard guys like Derek Carr have a deal in place. There are people already starting to make moves that are free agents.
Yeah.
Even though legal tampering starts tomorrow or Monday?
Monday.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot that has already gone on. It's really, for the most part, I would say after the Super Bowl, there was maybe a week where there really wasn't much going on. But it, like you said, NFL never sleeps. There's always something going on. It really has become a year-long sport. And it's just, I think it goes back to the fact that any given Sunday means so much, and there's so much money, time, emphasis put into this sport, and it just encapsulates us as fan bases. You live and die by everything. Baseball obviously is super long. Basketball, hockey, they're still long. There's long periods of time. You can go on stretches without paying attention and then get right back in it before the playoffs and be you never left. Football is such a, you lose a game, it could end your season. Even if you go 0-1 to start, it could be a couple weeks later, you could be man, if we had gotten that first game, we'd still be in a comfortable position. But it's just weird how those things are. Obviously, it's a little over of an exaggeration, but so we are now at the point where they've pushed the Super Bowl back closer to March, and the period where the season starts is the middle of March, but there's so much stuff that goes on in between anymore. Everybody's just so active, and there's so, and I think I said last week, it's a soap opera. There's different things going on. It never ends. It never ends. So there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot going on. It never ends. Like you said, there's already deals in place that haven't been announced, that can't be announced until then. So, we can just really get right into it.
I think really what spurned all this talk and what has started to, ignite some of these deals in the back corners of most, GM's rooms is the fact that the period for when you need to franchise tag someone came and went. And those are some of the biggest moves that we saw. And my man C's checking in. What's up, brother? Good to hear from you. We're both repping the Phillies hat for you tonight, my man. But yeah, talking about that, there were some big names that got tagged. Let's start with the New York Giants. Daniel Jones he didn't get tagged.
He didn't get tagged, but it was almost a result of that.
And as a result of that, Saquon got tagged.
Yes. So Daniel Jones gets a 4-year, $160 million deal. It's very incentive-based. I think there's $35 million in incentives. If he were to reach his incentives, I think it's about 48 a year. I think the deal on its base starts at 37.5 a year. Look, it's essentially good news for us. Let's be real. The NFL is funny how it works. if you are with a quarterback, you kind of get stuck in a phase, in a scenario. And, they kind of actually hosed themselves because he was a first-round pick. And last year, going into the season, they decided we're not going to give him the fifth-year option. They didn't want to be stuck to that. Well, he, and in quotes, outperformed and got them to the playoffs. So now they had to make a deal. And honestly, like, if they had just had that fifth year, they could have had a bigger time frame window to see if this was real or not.
Yeah.
Instead, $160 million is going to go his way. I mean, honestly, it's good news for us. It's good news for anybody in the NFC East. But that's people are looking so hard for a quarterback that the Giants were kind of in this position where they had to stick with him. They had to.
They had to. And that leads us to the quarterback carousel that is going around the NFL. And one person that did get the tag was Lamar Jackson. Now, he got the exclusive tag, right? So,
exclusive? All right.
Yeah, well, either way, he's allowed to negotiate with other teams, and I don't think the Ravens have to match or have an option to match, right?
They have 5 days to match, and
okay.
The compensation is 2 first-round picks.
That's what it was. Okay, good call.
The Ravens. So if a team signs an offer sheet, the Ravens have 5 days to match.
Yeah, but team that signs an offer sheet having to give up 2 first-round picks is a pretty steep price, I think, for a quarterback that doesn't find the field more than he finds the bench. Like he's a very high-risk quarterback when it comes to injuries.
It's a weird situation to be in because I think they've been so far apart in their dealings.
Yeah.
He wants a fully guaranteed. Now, here's the thing, and we may have mentioned this previously in the past couple of weeks. Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns messed up the quarterback market.
They did.
$235 million guaranteed. Lamar said, I've won the MVP. I don't have, masseuse allegation charges against me. There's no reason I shouldn't get that. But Cleveland.
Not everybody's Cleveland. Not
everybody's Cleveland. But now, and it's funny, as this Lamar news came out, there's teams that need a quarterback, and he would change their team just like that. And they're all saying they don't want to do it. People are pointing to, is it collusion? All the owners are getting together and they're saying, we're not getting spurned like that. We're not falling privy to these demands of a fully guaranteed contract. And also, giving a fully guaranteed contract to a player is just a lot of money regardless. Like, in the Ravens, I will say they're one of the more consistent teams. They're in this field with the Eagles. I actually think they've probably been more stringent than the Eagles, and I think it's worked out for them for the most part. They don't give in. It's kind of like a, New England type of way where it's like, we're not going to overpay you. If you don't want to be here, you can go. We'll see you, or we'll find somebody to replace you. Now, the question is, I don't think there's been any talks about where the Ravens would go if they actually let Lamar leave. And that's what's interesting to me, because I really think that they are being smart and they're letting the rest of the NFL negotiate their deal because they don't want to be stuck. They want to say, if nobody else is going to give you what you're asking for, I don't want to give you something that you're asking for that I don't have to give you.
Yeah.
It's kind of smart, actually. But at the same time, he did give up on them at the end of the season last year because of his injury. He didn't.
I don't blame him.
There's a lot of stuff, I think, on both sides, but I think Baltimore is not going to get bullied into this.
Yeah. So Cease comes up with our next quarterback on the quarterback carousel, Rodgers to the Jets. Let me just break this down, and I haven't heard many people say this before, but I've been on my soapbox about this. I don't think so. Now, it might get done, don't get me wrong, but you tell me if I'm crazy or not, but Favre went to the Jets. Does Rodgers really want to just go in the same footsteps? I know he sat in darkness for 3 or 4 days. I'm sure that came out somewhere on the walls or in the, floating in the air that his boy number 4, already took that route. Does he really want to keep following in Favre's footsteps? And that's where I'm like, I'm not sure he's ready to go to a team like that, again, people think the Jets are that close. But when I look at Buffalo, Miami, and even like New England's not a terrible team, that's a really tough mountain to climb. I say no. I think he nixes it. But I could see why people think, somehow, some way he finds a way. I still think like, don't forget, Vegas doesn't have anybody yet.
Yeah, but I feel like Vegas could be in on Lamar Jackson. I think that's the possibility there.
Yeah.
They said we're not closing the door to anybody, where a lot of teams that I thought that would be in on Lamar aren't. I think the Jets are a real thing. I think they wanted Derek Carr.
Oh,
Like,
I think it's a real thing. I don't know if Rodgers does it. That's what I was.
No, I think he does. I know it does. It is unfortunate that Favre went there, but for his chance at winning again, I think the teams that they have there, I think the players that they have there, I think it makes sense for him to want to go there. I think having a good defense, having wide receiver threats, having a really good running back. Joe Douglas has done some work over there, and I think it's going to be one of those things where players are also going to want to go to the Jets to go and try and win with him because they know it's a short window. They know it's a year or two. I think it's going to be, I think the Jets do have money, but I mean, they have the offensive and defensive rookies of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, this is everything he could want. He has the talent on both sides of the ball. I think he's got to like suck it up and just be like, you know what? This is a really good situation I'm walking into because Green Bay never gave me anything like this. I'm going to do it and I'll take my chance because it's that he's mulling retirement, Packers or Jets. And I think the Packers are over it and they just want to move on to Jordan Love, which I don't know how that's going to go. I think he's there. I think he's going because they're the only team that wants him. The Packers don't even want him anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't want him. But bottom line is he's weird, and I could see him back. I could see him back in Green Bay. I don't necessarily think the Jets have that much more weaponry on offense than Green Bay does. I think Watson proved himself last year, and I think Dobbs was coming on to be something. And obviously, the running game is very strong in Green Bay. So I hear you. I mean, it's an up and coming team. I don't know. He's just so odd that I just don't think he takes the easy way. And the easy way looks like the Jets right now. I applaud the Jets for going for it. I think it's a great idea and a great chance for them. They got Tua. They got obviously Josh Allen. They got a tough quarterback.
It may not be Tua.
Well, it may not. We can get into that, but they got some tough quarterbacks that they got to face each and every week in the AFC East. So they know their one weakness is at quarterback, and it's bad. And like you said, they do have cap room because they're paying rookie quarterbacks, right? So yeah, we'll see. I say no still, but I do see how. I mean, it absolutely looks like he's going to go there. But we'll see.
Well, he made a comment earlier in the season when they played them. He said they're really skilled. He I think was on a Pat McAfee show, and he was saying how good of a team they have over there. Like obviously, I know they got beat by them, but I think that's another thing that weighs into it.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. Again, I don't believe anything that guy says. He just wants to be a drama queen, and that's why the Packers are done, and the Packers they're ready to move on, and I think they should. Someone brought up a good point the other day, like how fair is it right now that they drafted Jordan Love? That think in 3 years he'll be starting. And he's got to go through this again. Exactly what Rodgers had to go through with Favre. It's funny how you would think he'd never want to put someone else through a situation he's been through, but he's doing it. He's doing it, and he
doesn't care. Yeah, it's his world. Yeah. We're just living in it.
Yeah, but there are other quarterbacks to talk about, and we talked quickly earlier about Derek Carr. Looks like he's going to end up in New Orleans. Good for him. Indianapolis looks like they're probably going to try and settle on the draft.
Yeah,
we'll figure out that. Chicago. Yeah. It looks like they're going to be holding on to Fields and taking all calls. And then lastly, you mentioned it and you foreshadowed it a little bit here. Mm-hmm. Well, we could talk Washington. That's where I think Jackson may end up. But
yeah, that's a real possibility too.
That little rumor of Tua not being a starting quarterback, what were you trying to say there?
There's a guy who's been around this league for 20-something years and he retired. And apparently he's talking about how it's really hard raising a cat. But there's been a couple people who have said, that's a lie. That tweet's a lie. The cat thing is a lie. He's just deflecting right now as he tries to figure it out. Tom Brady looks like him, if he comes back, I think Miami is a real deal.
Oh yeah.
Him and Sean Payton were supposed to go team up there last year before the whole Brian Flores thing. They had to kind of switch positions. I think he wants to be there. He's not done. It's very weird. It's honestly like, and I tweeted out the other day when they said, he could consider coming back. Like, Lord have mercy on his criticism, because to retire 2 years in a row just to come back, it's really stupid. Like, look, nobody's telling you to leave. If you really think you can still play, and just say, I can still play. Like, you're making this more of a dog and pony shit show than you need to. The dude's weird. Like, I know, like, I've always respected Brady because I think he does things the right way, whatever. Like, he's got whatever. There's cheating things and stuff like that. But like, for the most part, he seemed like a down to earth guy. But this dude is wacky, and he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when it comes to talking about this cat stuff, making it like, yeah, I'm totally out, I'm retiring. And then this thing with Miami is still looming. Like, you really need to put it to bed. Like, especially when he said that he was not going to start broadcasting until 23 or until 24.
I know.
Why? Why'd you say that all of a sudden when you have a $375 million deal in place? Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, we'll see. He's always he's keeping it real interesting. But talking about quarterbacks, let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles and the team we have here in town. Lots of interesting tweets coming out of that area as well, as it looks like, the Eagles were not able to get a deal done with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They did not slap the tag on him, letting him walk freely into free agency, as well as some of their other, knowns that we knew were going to at least test the waters, like a Miles Sanders, like a Hargraves, and like Bradbury. But CJ, I'd say it's a little surprising that we got to this point with him, and I think it's telling that he's probably out of here.
It is, but the whole thing is very weird to me. So the thing is, the reason why, the Eagles very rarely use the franchise tag. I think they both used it 5 times. It's not something that they like to do. It's automatically stuck onto your cap. I think even if you get a deal done,
you can't spread it out.
At least at the beginning, it'll count towards their cap, so it'll hamstring them even more at the beginning of the season. They won't be able to do things. It's kind of like the Lamar situation, where if a team makes an offer to him, they had the other, obviously the Ravens have 5 days to match it. That's 5 days of free agency that you may miss out on, and guys that, may want to go to Baltimore, and you're good, like, I don't know what my cap situation is. I can't sign you right now. So that's kind of the scenario of why the Eagles did not slap that tag on him. It's very weird, though, that Gardner-Johnson put out the video, which I think is premature on his part to put out there. Like, thank you, Philly. In my opinion, so this is the scenario. This is how he ended up here. He was in New Orleans. He was coming up on his contract year, and they knew they weren't doing much. And they were like, you know what? He's unhappy here. Let's send him out, right? He comes to Philadelphia. You think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to sign him, bringing him in. But honestly, Howie's like, I could use a guy like this year. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
He's going after the money. Whether you like it or not, he's going after the money. And he should. I understand. Like, he's got a family to do this for, like, whether he has it now or he's going to have it. He's got to secure the bag, as the kids say. And I think that's a real thing. But now I feel like it's a negotiating ploy. I think putting the thank you fans video out there, it shows there's been a lot of fan reaction. Oh my God, this can't be it. Oh my God, please don't. Like, just say you'll sign, blah, 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 blah. And I think that him and his agent are almost hoping that the Eagles organization sees how the fans react and decides to, you know what, let's reconsider this. But Howie's not like that. He won't do it based on what people are feeling. He'll do, he still did learn somewhere from Joe Banner, and like it's a real thing. And the Eagles have their way of doing business. But it's like you're trying to set up that to be the case. And it's a position that they normally don't spend money on. So to me, it's like, I understand you're trying to make this case against them, but like, honestly, it's not a good look. What happens if you end up coming back here? Now everyone will be happy, but you got egg on your face because you went ahead and did that. It's like you couldn't wait a couple days. Like, and he's been doing this all offseason. He put up a Instagram post like right after the Super Bowl, like it was real Philly, like all this kind of stuff. Like, dude, just let the process play out. Like, say goodbye when you're actually not here anymore.
Yeah.
And to me, honestly, I'm not as like, I love his tenacity. I love what he brings. I think he's good, but he doesn't do everything that you need him to do as a safety. He's not a complete safety. He's a ball hawk, and he changes the way that they play defense. But to be honest, I'm not crying like these other people are. There's a lot of safety options this year. It's deep. I think they can go a cheaper route and be okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting point that you make with the negotiating tactics. I that crossed my mind too. I said, all right, this guy's going to play the fan's hand, and he's going to play the I'm a fan favorite. Good on him. I don't think that changes how he's negotiating tactics, Muggs, and I think he's going to send him out there and let him test the waters. Like you said, it's a very crowded safety class, and there's other options available. Go test it out. Come back, talk to us then.
I think that's their approach.
Yeah, I think they both are probably on, good terms, but are, just have some techniques that they're playing right now. Now, with that said, there's another technique that I'm hearing out there, and I think you even mentioned it a little bit last week, and that's the idea of maybe renegotiating a contract with a current Eagles star. That's cornerback Darius Slay. I'd be curious, do you think there's some, leverage there that the Eagles have over him?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's only two players I think that they can, restructure their contract, and that's Lane Johnson and Darius Slay, who both are older. It's funny. You look at how many people that the Eagles will have on their dead cap, and the thing is, like, 4 of their free agents are going to have a dead cap hit.
Yeah.
I don't know how it worked out. I guess it's the way that they structured their deals, but like even TJ Edwards, like he's a dead cap. Javon Hargrave, like he's $12 million in dead cap. So it's almost like the thought is, what if you bring him back? But with Darius Slay, they haven't talked about restructuring either of these guys. And I think they might not actually do the restructure. I wonder if the only possibility in my eyes with Slay is that they trade him. I don't think they're going to restructure him. It would be nice if they could, but then again, you're in a Brandon Brooks situation. He's on our cap this year. Brandon Brooks hasn't played for us for a couple of years, and we're still paying for it.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I think that they have to think about, and I think they know that they're going to get comp picks back because they're losing a lot of guys this year, and they're not going to get back as many guys as they lost. It's not. Yeah. I think it has to do with the amount of players that go out and the money that goes out versus what you bring in.
Yeah.
We, for once, now I've thought this before where we go into a free agency, we're like, the Eagles aren't going to do much. And then boom, they do something big and they surprise you. This may actually be their point where they don't do anything big. And I think these are part of the reasons why, because they don't want to fall into more dead cap. And they know that like things are hit or miss. Now it's going to be Howie's job to find players who are underestimated, get them good deals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot going on in the Eagles world, and we'll find out a lot more as we get closer to the free agency period, which starts, like Mark said, next Wednesday. I'll just say this much. The team's going to look a lot different, and mainly different on defense. Obviously, the offense is pretty well intact except for the running back position, which they'll figure out a way, and that'll either be filled in the draft or somewhere in later in free agency. I will say I don't know how we're getting talks at Derrick Henry, but leave that one aside because I don't need running backs shouldn't be paid that much. I'm sorry, it's great for him, but it's not great for us. So I don't see why Derrick Henry comes. I think the Eagles fill that in the draft.
I can see them trading for somebody. I think I'm interested to see what Dalvin Cook's number is because some team already reached out to the Vikings about trading for him. That's a possibility. The Eagles were connected to him earlier about a potential trade candidate. I think that's a thing. I don't know whether that happens or not, but I think that's a thing. I think they're going to look into all options. I think they're going to fill in somebody, whether it's an Alexander Madison or a Kareem Hunt or somebody like that. And I think they are going to address the position in the draft. I think they let Boston Scott and Miles Sanders both walk. They have some kind of 3-back suit with, Kenneth Gainwell. Could be very interesting. I would like to look at that, but this is going
But
back.
The offense looks like it'll stay intact for the most.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Really, running back
defense.
is the biggest hole. I mean, you have to worry about guard, but the thing is, I think Jason Kelsey is going to come back. And I think, if anything, you plug in Juergens or you put in Jack Driscoll and you make the offensive line work. I don't think you really want to spend too much resources on a guard. That's why I don't think Seumalo comes back. Good for him. Go get his money. He deserved it, and he was very good for us.
You're right.
I think those are the kinds of things you have to let go. But this is what I said when we were in the playoffs, and, it holds true, and you brought it up, but this is what I feared. They don't win the Super Bowl, which they didn't. This team's going to look a lot different, and that was probably their best chance. At least, they have they had a better chance this past year than I think what they're going to have next year. I think it's going to be a little bit of a retooling, especially because you have to pay Jalen. You have to figure out all that. You really got hit in the draft. I mean, they really do if they want to keep that going. It's tough. Once you pay a quarterback, everything changes. Teams usually aren't the same. The best that you get is when they're on their rookie deal still. So they had a big advantage this year with Hurts playing on the rookie deal. And I know he probably technically will still be playing on his rookie deal this season, but what they start to do is they slide his signing bonus money into this year's cap. And that's where it changes. So we're never going to see a team. I'll be honest. This is the best Eagles team on paper that we'll see in the next couple of years that just passed.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Doesn't mean they can't go back either. I'm not saying that. But they're going to have to start really outscoring teams because that offense is intact.
Yep. I agree. Well, we'll see. There's not a lot of noise yet, but, definitely some posturing, definitely some positioning, and we'll see where the Eagles fall in this free agency hierarchy that is that of the NFL, and the crazy spiraling period of March will just lead into a crazy draft prep. We saw a little bit of that with the combine over the weekend, and it's NFL all the time. NFL's king. But talking about king, let's move over to the Philadelphia 76ers. And why do I king them? Because a 4-1 road trip. They said it couldn't be done. They said they got the hardest schedule in the NBA the rest of the way. Well, you know what? They slipped one game in Dallas, and one game where they made an epic comeback in Dallas, and they were able to do the unthinkable, and that's knock down the Milwaukee Bucks and take away their 16-game winning streak, and then go at it in Indiana and win without Joel Embiid. I'm sorry, Indiana, they went and won without Harden.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in Minnesota, well, no, Minnesota was without Harden. Indiana was without Tobias and Tucker. And then the next night, Minnesota was without Harden. They're doing it the right way. They're playing hard. They're playing good defense. Saying it's the Indiana game, but that was because two big pieces were out. And they're just winning games, man. And they're playing good basketball. And yeah, you went on a rant last week about Harden. Yes, it was well deserved. But man, they're a team that I still don't trust them.
Yeah,
they have all the makings of a team that can get to the finals.
They really do. They have the nucleus now. And if they were to, so like you alluded to, the PJ Tucker and Tobias Harris being out against Indiana, they were out due to injuries. But you saw the team play a little different when McDaniels and Melton were in there.
Yeah.
Right? Was it McDaniels and Melton, Maxey, Embiid, and Harden? I think that was the starting lineup. And you see more of George Niang, and if he's hitting shots, you're good there. That's extra offense. Like looking at that. If you could move one of those guys to the bench, if you could have honestly, I would have Tucker coming off the bench just because he's not giving you anything offensively. He'd be a great game changer coming off defense. And honestly, they've talked about it, and he's done a little bit of it. He plays some backup 5 minutes because he's just physical against centers, and he can guard them. Like he was giving Jokic fits back in January when they had that, game. I think, it would be interesting to see them mess with the lineup a little bit. I love what Melton gives you on defense. Maxi's giving you the offense. Harden's giving you the offense, and Embiid's giving you the offense. It's some good things. And Embiid has been playing a lot better defense lately, and he's not talking about the MVP. He's talking about the playoffs. He's got to. At this point, he has to. And I'll be honest now, the tides are turning a little bit. The way that he's been playing, if he stays in this mindset, I think there's a chance that, and I think he was more deserving of it last year. I think there's a chance he could still win MVP. I put myself on that at plus 400 today. I think there's still a real chance that he could, even though he will at most play 69 games. Kyle Neubeck said this like a couple weeks ago. Players who don't play more than 70 games usually don't win it. I think one player has ever done it. This might be the opportunity, depending on what happens.
And he's forcing himself to play some of these games, which, I think can be a little risky, but he says it's not in his mind. He's doing other things, which means it's in his mind. And I just don't need him to go in the corner and pout when he doesn't win it this year. Right. I'm with you. There's some value in it at 400. I did get it at like 1,100 early in the season. I'm hoping for my money it hits, but I do think, I still think he's playing for it, and I think he's doing it on purpose, but trying not to be so obvious about it.
Right, he's not verbalizing it. Right.
Yeah. So
it does make a difference. It makes a difference about the way the people around you look at you, I think, and the way that the media looks at it.
Yeah, it does. But again, coming off that huge road trip, they come back. Cease is talking about it tomorrow night down at the Wells Fargo. Big game. Yeah, big game. So you got. Listen, I was on the golf course today talking a few things with some people at the end of the day. And if Harden goes, as you suspect, and I'm with you, I think there's a very good chance he leaves at the end of the season.
I'm so annoyed with it, but there's too much smoke. It's like,
yeah, no, but I'm with you. But my transition point there is,
I think I know where you're going.
I don't think there's the power in free agency to be able to refill that void, that they do need to probably make some type of trade. And the only way they can trade and fill that salary part is they're probably going to have to get really creative there in some of the pieces they'd have to give away. But obviously one of those trade chips will be a guy coming in here tomorrow night. I can't see why he's going to stick his whole career to a losing organization, but he's committed to it. But maybe, just maybe, we can maybe change his mind a little bit with that atmosphere tomorrow night. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, that might have to be the case. Like because we've talked about it. Like you ran through the litany of players that'll be available. It's garbage. It's garbage for the most part. Like there's nothing that like you're like, yes, Embiid and this guy, because the thing is Embiid will always need a guard to spell him, if they have the pick and roll going. Like I'm telling, like it just makes too much sense. And honestly, like I think he's gonna look back on it and say, like, man, I should have just done it.
Yeah.
As in Dame, get over here and play with Embiid. Like I know I think he's been hoping that maybe Embiid would go over there, so then Dame could say he came over to me. We did it here, but it's that organization. Again, the Sixers organization isn't great when it comes to things, but they have the resources, they have the place to do it. It just honestly, it just makes too much sense. Like they could really do things. And like you throw it to buy it, like, because the thing is the Trailblazers have been at the point where they're, they got a new president. They're, thinking about selling the team. Like there's no stability over there. Mm-hmm. And it's not the most stable thing over here, but there's no talks of selling the team. You got a fan base that's with you 100%. Like you add Dame here, the jersey sales go through the roof. The games they're already sold out to begin with. It's only a positive.
Yeah.
But it would have to be something like that. Because if not, then you might as well ship Embiid. If you're going to lose Harden and not replace him, then you might as well just get it out, rip the Band-Aid off now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fear, obviously.
This playoff series, I think, means a lot more than we think. Like I think this is do or die now, like for the organization moving forward.
It is absolutely. I think it is. But again, just foreshadowing to the future. Tomorrow night's game is going to be a big game. Portland coming off a blowout loss up at Boston. So they're a team that's just, they barely squeaked by Orlando, get blown out by Boston. Boston made some moves at the deadline that were really non-needle movers, getting Tybal, who
Matisse
just looks as lost as ever. Adding Cam Reddish, who just throws up every shot he can get, but comes back high volume, low results. So it's Dame against everyone, and we'll see how that goes. But Sixers also have another big game this weekend, I think, right?
They
had last weekend. I'm pretty sure they're on TV once again, and it is no. It's next Wednesday.
Wednesday they play
Cavs
in Cleveland.
Okay. Yep. So that's big, and then it's later in it's 2 weeks from now when they get the Warriors. That's where Warriors, Suns, Nuggets 3 in a row. Whew.
Right. I mean, here's the thing: they can do damage right now. From the Blazers to the Warriors, where the game before the Warriors is the Bulls. They can do a back-to-back with the Bulls, actually, a home and home. They can do some damage there.
Yeah.
And they could really help themselves out. Like, they're flirting with 2. They're flirting with 2 seed. Now, whether it happens or not, I think I'm still hell-bent that they're going to stay at 3, especially with that stretch that we're talking about. Now, here's the thing. You mentioned the Suns. Suns have lost KD, and they might lose him for the regular season. So he might not be there. It's going to be a different Suns team without KD.
Yeah, that was weird. That was silly, but weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? Sky's the limit for this team. Now the question is whether they would actually want to be the 2 seed. I mean, it doesn't hurt, obviously.
No, but they lost the season series to Boston. I still think it's too high of a hill to climb because they're 2 out in the loss column plus that extra. Like, it's going to take a lot, especially with their schedule.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff. They're playing good basketball. It's exciting. It's actually to a point where they're playing some of the better basketball I've seen them play going into the playoffs in recent years. They're playing some hard teams down the stretch. It's going to give us a really good litmus test of what this team is. So exciting stuff from the Sixers front. Let's move on to the Philadelphia Phillies.
Real quick, I think I should just be pissed off about them all the time. I think that is the solution. Just be pissed off at James Harden for even entertaining these facts. Be pissed off for Joe trying to go win MVP and say that, I don't believe in them. Maybe that's what works. Because, of course, they would go and do what they did after I said what I said.
Yeah.
So I got to faux stay the course. Like, no, but obviously, and the thing is about this year compared to the past couple of years, they've had clunkers of season enders where, Embiid's playing some games and not playing some games. Like, they're playing, the Magic all the time and stuff like that. And they're not really tested. Then they get into the first round. The first round is, an awful Nets team, sans, Kyrie and KD.
That's a perfect
and then so they kind of have a layup. They maybe play 5 games and then they go in the second round and then they just get out hustled and outplayed and outworked. So I like what you're saying, like alluding to what you were saying. I like that they're going to have a harder stretch because it's going to test them and they're going to have to stay in that mindset for the next couple of months. And that they don't get to take any days off.
Yeah, to me, the perfect matchup is the Nets, like you said. I just think, they're a type of team that's just absolutely falling apart. They got decent gap between them and the 7th seed, but the problem there is I think the Nets lost tonight, and sooner than they lost to the Bucks.
Yeah.
They hung in there with them, but I just Miami and Atlanta are right behind them. I think we'll probably end up playing Miami, if I had to say it. And Miami's not very good this year, but they still got Jimmy, and they still get the fit. So, I mean, Miami's got a negative point differential, scores the lowest point per game in the entire Eastern Conference, maybe the entire NBA. Let me look at it. Yeah, entire NBA, their lowest scoring team. So, they don't really concern me, but they're harder than the Nets. That's for
right.
Sure.
I mean, we lost them last year. They again are a different team than they were last year, but yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Let's move on. Let's check out the Philadelphia Phillies down in spring training. The biggest news coming out of there recently is we're not going to see Andrew Payne.
Yeah.
Got a nice little, spot start at 2 innings, and then that elbow tenderness, and they haven't really been able to get him right since then. And at this point, even if he does come back and start to go, he's not going to be able to be stretched out for regular season. And that may not be a bad thing for the Philadelphia Phillies, because in the end, the guy who's going to be capped at an innings limit anyway.
Right.
So to be able to maybe ease him in and bring him up in late April, early May might be the perfect scenario for this team. So it's not the worst of worst. And you still got Bailey Falter, right? And you still got some other pieces that you can throw in there at the fifth spot. So not bad. But I want to get your initial reaction on Painter and, the news here going forward.
Well, it's what news? That's the problem. They still haven't been able to say what it was. They keep saying like, it'll be coming soon. It'll be coming soon. And it looks like again, I think the assumption is they're getting second, third, fourth opinions based on what's going on. It's just weird because they haven't. So the first good sign is that they didn't send him up the Philly. Because usually when something goes wrong, they have to go to their team doctor at home. They send him away. He's been there. He's been, in, warm-up clothes essentially, still around. So that's a good sign. There have been the likes of Jason Stark, and there was somebody else who said, from what they've heard so far, I guess whoever has said what they said can't put pen to paper at this point yet. Nothing to really fret. So, I mean, that's a good stuff. He said, unless my source is leading me down like a completely wrong path, but a guy like Jason Stark doesn't get duped like that. No. Very rarely does the Hall of Fame type of baseball writer, reporter like him get duped like that. So I think you're in the, okay, it shouldn't be that bad. So if it is along the lines of, I think just trying to figure out what treatment will be for it and what's needed, I think that's where, all the holdup is. And I just don't think they want to say it's this and then it be something else. I think they're trying to protect themselves, and there's no real rush to make that determination because, like you said, now with this injury, you can't. He's not breaking camp with the team. He can't.
And then one of the other news, we saw on Sunday, Zach Wheeler goes out and pitches and lets up 7 runs in 1 1/3. Yeah. I read reports that Zach's out there testing a new pitch. Maybe we talked about that a little bit. Yeah, trying to make hitters have to adjust. So I take it as no news as well with the Zach Wheeler implosion game in spring training, because he's out there feeling things out and trying to get, he actually pitched a decent first inning. It was the second inning that he just couldn't get anyone out and let up all those runs. So I think, again, a no news situation, just a guy just getting out there trying to feel the ball, maybe get a new pitch incorporated and see where he wants to use it in certain counts. So no worries here. How about you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's too. What could have really changed, unless there's some unforeseen injury that's going on, which isn't the case. Like he said, he's feeling good. He's trying this like slurve. I forget what they call it. There's some kind of name that they gave it, but he's testing it out. I think he's using spring training as warm up. Like that's all. Mm-hmm. That's simply it. So I'm not worried in the least bit. He's a gamer. He'll be fine. I remember last year he was having issues getting on the mound in spring training. I think there were a lot of issues last year with him getting on the mound. So the fact that he's out there this year with no injury concern at this moment, knock on wood, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Now, if he does it a couple more times, if he lets up 7 runs and if he makes a couple more, he's probably not even going to pitch that much more the rest of the way. Let's be real.
Right.
I think I think he'll be fine. Now, if he goes out opening day or whenever, whether it's opening day or the second day of the season, I'm trying to think, do they still throw? I'm trying to think of who started last year. Was it Nola or Wheeler? It actually might have been Nola because I think Wheeler might have been hurt going into the season. But I'm trying to figure, would Wheeler be the opening day guy this year, or would it be Nola? I know Nola usually gets the nod because he's the hometown guy.
Yeah, I still think it's Nola, but they're egoless. They don't care.
Yeah.
And if you look at, they open on the road, and if I remember right, Nola was much better on the road last year than he was at home. So if you throw him one, and I think that he'll get 2 road series starts in Wheeler, you might be able to stretch out to be the home opener. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah. Was it Texas? Did we start
It's
out?
Texas. Yeah, and then I thought they had one up. I thought they had 2 series in a row on the road, but Texas is the first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought they played, was it like Miami, and then came home. I just remember that because I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be out of town. I think as soon as they get home. It's Rangers, and then they go to the Yankees.
Oh, okay.
And then the Reds are at home. Yep. Yeah, but I mean, there's not like, listen, I've been watching some of the spring training games. I know some people that have gone down there. They said it's just been awesome this year. Really well packed. Every game sold out. Fans are loving it. Phillies are playing some decent ball. When they need to, it doesn't really matter as much. We kind of know what this team is. I'm going to be interested to see if Roger Clemens' kid does make this roster. I know he hit a bomb the other day. I know Roger's been in camp talking to the team, but there's just those fringe battles I think that are going on, but not much else. Yeah, there's these checking in Yankees. Yep. Thanks, bud. But anything else you got from the Phillies camp's perspective?
No, I mean, Harper showed up today. You got to see his scar. You got to see, what he was thinking. It's, I think, was it Middleton? He said how he found out about Trey Turner. They just said, we got your guy. But he was able to hit off a tee today. He was doing the dry swinging previously. Now he's able to hit off a tee. I think things are going well, but he did pretty much allude to he's probably not, he misses right field. Probably not going to play a lot of right field this year. Like, it's just not happening. I think they're taking their time. He said, I could be back after the All-Star break. I could be back before the All-Star break. We're really taking it cautious and just seeing where they are. And I think that's okay. I mean, I think bringing in Trey Turner, it definitely takes the pressure off of their back where they, don't have to rush him to get there. I think they're going to be fine either way. They survived Joe Girardi. They survived being 22 and 29. And they played well even when they went under Topper when Harper went out. So I think they're going to be just fine. I really do. Barring anything crazy, I think this team is going to be contending hard throughout the year, even without him. So,
yeah. No, I agree. Really good team to look forward to. A lot of great things, from the Phillies are expected. And I really think they're going to pay things off. But, a lot more until we get to that point. It's only March. What do we got? 9th here. So they're still down in camp for about 2.5 more weeks until they come up here for a quick couple games and then get ready for that regular season first game at the end of the month in Texas, where they might face a familiar face in Jacob DeGrom. But there's already news in that camp that he's not feeling so well. So we'll see. I mean,
it's typical. I mean, it's, he went there because, the lack of taxes and, good for him getting the money, but it's, as good as he is, he's just such a liability with his injuries. And it's unfortunate because there's some real talent there that you're never going to see the very best of it. It's unfortunate.
No, I agree. Well, that wraps up this episode, this edition of Fourth and Go here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm Dave Gluckman. That's Mark Thomasini. Philly 4-for-4 and so much more. We got a lot to look forward to over the next couple of weeks, especially with NFL free agency, as we spoke of, with the Phillies breaking camp, with the Sixers making that playoff push, and the Flyers, doing Flyers things and losing again tonight, but maybe making that push to get that number 1 in the NHL draft lottery. But we also got NCAA tournament action coming up, and as always, follow us on Twitter and all of our social media accounts as we give our personalities out there every chance we can get. But Mark, that's all I got. You got anything before we get out of here?
No, good thing is Soto got his visa, so he is in Phillies camp now. Thought everyone should know.
Nice. Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it. And you know what else we'll take? We'll take about a 1-week break. Try and get back here next Thursday as our plan again. right around the same time. Cease, thanks for checking in. Thanks everyone else for checking in and making comments. We appreciate it. And until next week, let's have a winning week here on the Heat Ratio Sports Network for 4th and Go. We're out.